Four effects of trauma. Well, I, I'll say the two biggest ones are, well, I said in the book compartmentalization. You put your feelings away, but I'll simplify. One is one's in the mind, one's in the heart. In the masculine linear side, our perception changes. We look through a lens, an invisible lens that we don't know we're looking through, and then we interpret reality different than what it is. So that's obviously huge because if I assume that, I get on the call and like Roy's out to get me, or whatever, like if I have an abandonment issue, maybe I think everyone's going to abandon me. So perception and interpretation is one part, the way you see life, and then every out thing after that, all your choices. And the other is feeling. We're risk, we're feeling averse. We don't want to feel. We don't want to feel our feelings. So we live in this kind of craving and aversion. Like I only want the fast drivers, not the slow drivers. I want chocolate. I don't want vanilla, whatever it is. Like we don't want to have any feeling that comes near the area of that trauma. So we end up sort of living a very limited life because we see things wrong and we don't want to feel our feelings. And last thing I'll say, you were talking about anxiety earlier. I defined anxiety in my book as a state. It's not an emotion. It's a mental state. It's a belief where you overestimate the threat and you underestimate your ability to meet that threat. So if you have trauma and you were told you were stupid or you were never good enough or whatever it was, and then you grow up and you start to look through this lens of anxiety, you believe everything out there has more power over you than you have the tools to meet it. But that's just the mind. Underneath that is all this energy of who you really are. And if you can come in contact with that energy, you don't have to listen to that. You don't have to live in that world. And that's why, sorry to keep going back to the example, the only one you gave me, lying next to the guy who's doing some crazy thing in the breath work, is that somewhere inside you think you can't handle whatever would come up for you if you just opened up to your own experience. That's a program, and it comes from trauma. And if we could break that program, then you wouldn't give a shit about anything. There would be no more anxiety or worry ever again. What there will be, I mean, because I'm not saying I'm not perfect. Just ask my ex-wives. What I have is a relationship with myself that I didn't have before, where that thing, like train tracks, that's built in me to be anxious, to think there's a problem where there isn't. I have an ability to stop myself from building the train, putting it on the track, and sending it down the track. So trauma release is to release the energy, but we don't necessarily pull up all the train tracks. We still can have these triggers and these things, but the way we deal with them is completely different. There's some part of us that practices acceptance.